You might want to tilt your camera up.
Or do this. I moved back instead.
Salutations, my fiendish film fanatics. I'm the Silver Screen Slasher, and welcome to the RoboCop versus Terminator Special. All throughout the next 2 months, my friends and I, that would be a Cinemastein and, of course, Spike Greene from the Film Geek Collective, will be reviewing in both the RoboCop and the Terminator films. Say hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello, that is me doing my best Arnold Schwarzenegger impression.
Yeah, and if the sunglasses didn't give it away, today we're going to be starting off on the more bleak side of the future with the Terminator, released in 1984 by MGM and Orion Pictures. Honestly, this movie itself has quite the interesting background as to how it got around to being created. Do any of you guys know how it actually came around at first?
I know. It came around because James Cameron had a nightmare, and he decided to adapt that nightmare. And then when he wrote the script and was happy with it, he sold it, believe it or not, RoboCop fans, for $1.
However, the idea at the time didn't get off the ground just yet, because there is one other person you had to thank for this movie being created, Lance Hendrickson. And see, when the producers wouldn't budge and greenline this movie, Hendrickson, and I quote, kicked down the producer's door dressed as the Terminator and walked into his office, looking just like the character. And apparently, that actually scared the producer straight and greenlit the Terminator. Hendrickson, of course, didn't play the killer cyborg, but he did have a smaller role in the movie. So thanks, Mr. Hendrickson, for giving us such a wonderful movie.
Oh yeah, and another thing, this is the non-spoiler section, but I will say O.J. Simpson was almost cast as the Terminator. However, they thought, and I quote, this was a serious quote from back in production, they thought he was too nice for the role.
Okay.
How the future is different.
So yeah, this review in general will, one, perhaps contain explicit language, just like the film does, and it will also be a spoiler review. So we are assuming that everyone here has seen the film.
So for people who haven't seen this movie and are watching our review to try and get an experience, this is both your explicit warning and your spoiler alert. You've been warned. And since Cinemastein agreed to actually take the lead on the first few minutes, let's jump back into 1984 with the Terminator.
All right. Terminator is about a machine who is sent from the future. I believe like 20 or 30 years into the future, and is sent back in time to kill the mother of its enemy. But but coincidentally, a soldier, a human by the name of Kyle Reese, is sent back to the from the future into the past to find and save Sarah Connor and give birth to a child, who is by the name of John Connor, who is the future leader of humanity and will lead them to victory. Pretty much. It's a bit complicated, but once you probably see the first two movies, it'll probably start to make sense. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much the plot of the Terminator. Oh, and one thing, this great film stars Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor herself, and the T-800 himself, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And this film is just, it really is great. I mean, it's spawned a crap ton of sequels and is just it's just great from what it's become. So yeah, that's all I have to say for the plot so far. I'm not going to spoil anything else for you guys, at least for the people who haven't seen it. But if you have, then you know what already happens.
Okie dokie. So I guess Spike and I will take over then.
For now,
Yeah, sure.
So as Mr. Stein previously mentioned, the film takes place. Well, it starts in the distant future of 2029, which at the time of this video's release is no less than 8 years away. Pretty awkward if the future just that future just happens all of a sudden.
Now, if you're watching this in the year of 2029, please leave us a comment saying how it is 8 years later. Tell us if Skynet's taken over, and tell us how it is. We'd love to
Yeah,
know.
please actually do 8 years from now. Yeah. Anyway, after all the bleak and dark imagery, which includes there's a giant tank-like machine just crushing a whole bunch of human skulls, we immediately cut to 1984 and we are treated to a garbage truck. Bit of a weird image to take us to the past on, but then the ball starts rolling when the truck just all of a sudden stops. Electricity starts sparking all over the place, and the man operating the garbage truck runs away in terror. As we see, well, the first of our two future people from the future, the T-800, Cyberdyne Systems Model 101, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, who before this was known in this Mr. Universe and also for being in Hercules in New York. And of course, if you do look close enough in some shots, that's after he first appears. You could actually see his meat and two veg, so to speak. No, I'm serious.
wait, what? I missed that.
No, I know. You
In the
can
scene where he's
actually
walking over
see
to
it if you're freeze framing.
Okay, after Arnold, just beams into the 1984 a la natural, we cut to a trio of punks led by, which includes one Bill Paxton, who 2 years later would be in Aliens.
And he has weird hair, and I'm pretty sure was Bill Paxton the one who's like
He was the one with the blue spiky hair.
Yeah, the blue spiky hair, and then Arnold is like, "Nice night for a walk, eh?" And then isn't he the punk that's like, "Hey, fuck you, asshole," or something like that?
Yeah, he was. Yeah. The point is, Arnold eventually beats up the punks and just punches through one of them to death until the third punk eventually he gives him his clothes, which I will admit, even by 1984 standards, were just a little cheesy. I mean, seriously, a studded jacket? What, the disco suit to his wardrobe? Anyway, next we cut over to an alley where we're introduced to our second future time traveler, Kyle Reese, played by Michael Biehn. Well, admit it has, who, by the way, has no relation to Sean Bean, but they both have had their fair share of movie deaths. Anyway, Kyle also has to get close for himself to blend in, and he starts off by stealing a pair of pants from a bum, like a street bum, not an actual ass.
I think what's so good about the past scene is that it's very atmospheric with the lightning and the electricity going and stuff like that. But it's also the way that they couldn't really afford better lighting, so they just used the kind of lighting that was there with the punks, and then they just used that to their advantage. And especially with film, you had the sort of thing where you had to, because film is yet you needed more light to be able to really see things. You couldn't go as dark as digital, and even with digital there are a few technical problems, you know what I mean.
And there were also technical limits back then, so the way they time traveled back was limited to a bunch of bolts of lightning. So
speaking of, another thing I want to point out real quickly during the plot, also the T-800, before it finds the actual Sarah Connor, it starts killing a whole bunch of other poor women named Sarah Connor. But here's the kind of the bit of the joke that I made when I was watching that part. I'm not sure if you remember, obviously Silver and Spike, but there was this scene where One of Sarah's like old diner, work buddies, shows her something on the news, right, on TV, and one of her buddies
Mm,
say, "You're
Ah,
dead." And when she said that line, I'm like, indeed, if she doesn't get moving.
mm.
here's a better
And
one.
then
Yeah.
they end up killing Ginger off, don't they? As well.
Here's a better one.
I,
No, that joke is dead, honey.
oh, I mean, yeah, that's it. That scene where where the T-800 does kill off Ginger. I mean, it's like a sense of inevitability in that scene. She's sort of kind of, as far as I can remember, she's sort of running away in slow motion, and the guy's approaching her, and whoa, it's just almost building a suspense. But she can't survive really because he's
Mm-hmm.
just yeah.
Another
Yep.
thing I also like about this film, did you agree? Because even at times I even felt like the Terminator, the first one at least, was a bit of an action slash kind of thriller horror film at times.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I guess
Just
technically the
suspense,
first
and
Terminator
there's
could
just some
be.
like good, slow, scary moments.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess.
it
Yeah.
reminds me personally of a slasher sort of film in a way because if you think about it, there's everyone else is killed off, strong woman who survives and faces the enemy. There's just a person who has. In fact, I know this is like a sexist cliche from the '80s, but I'm going to mention it anyway within the context of things. The fact that people who had sex in '80s slashers basically got killed off because apparently the virgin's the only one to survive. Ugh,
Oh,
I
boo!
hate that
Oh,
cliche. I
boo!
hate it.
Freaking who?
But yeah, in that putting that in context, I think because Ginger was having sex with that guy, maybe that was the reason she got killed off. But I feel like the film subverts that later
I
with
guess.
because Sarah has sex with Kyle later and she survives the film. Whereas, well, yeah, I mean Kyle does get killed off, but it's for yeah. I just thought I'd put that theory out there.
Hmm. Anywho,
Mm,
eventually after both Arnie and Kyle are decked out in their threads, we're introduced to Sarah Connor, played by Linda Hamilton, who I will admit I don't really know her for that much before this movie. So keep in mind my movie knowledge of her is very limited.
Hmm.
I know one other film she appeared in besides the Terminator films.
Oh yeah.
Children of the Corn.
Wait, which one?
Children of the Corn.
Oh
Oh,
yeah. Although
I haven't seen that one, so
funny enough, uh, that movie came out the same year as this one.
oh,
It's,
oh yeah.
Oh,
later on,
by the
uh,
way, the next thing I think we should get to now is the music. I must say though, in my opinion, the music is just spot on. It is great, especially for that disco scene, as I like to call it. It's just
yeah,
wow, what
yeah,
an
back in the
intense,
Tech Noir.
awesome scene.
Yeah,
Because Sarah, look at her. She is so paranoid. She doesn't know who who these two men are. They don't even know. She doesn't even know if they're here to help her or even well kill her. And that's what
It's
makes it so suspenseful.
in one way, I think you can see it as like a paranoia type thriller. She can't trust the Terminator. She can't trust Kyle.
she can't
Kyle
trust
actually has a
anyone.
violent Kyle actually has a violent temper when she gets in the car because he's like, listen, listen, and he's legitimately scary in that moment, and she's just terrified. As if you think about it, you get in the car with a guy like that who's trying to explain something you think is insane, you would be scared too. But
Mm-hmm.
then she can't exactly go running to the Terminator 800.
No, she cannot.
Mm.
I will admit, the music it does give it a sort of cyberpunk-esque feeling, and a la Cyberpunk 2077, but
Mm-hmm.
minus the bugs.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I will
I mean,
admit,
if you want
I'm not.
the yeah, I was
I'm
gonna
not
make a
thinking of
Starship Troopers
maybe.
joke, but never mind.
Yep.
I
Another
will
thing I would
admit, I
love to
did
get.
have one particular favorite cameo in the movie, and that was by probably probably one of my favorite actors of the '80s and '90s, Dick Miller.
Oh yeah.
He's
Oh
appeared,
yeah,
yeah, the man
where he
the
appears in
man
that gun shop
has appeared
scene.
in more than 100 movies before his passing away in 2019. And of course, in this movie, he played the owner of a gun shop that Artie decided to load up in.
Ugh,
I
gun
think
shops. Boo.
One thing that I actually found really stupid now thinking about it, no offense about that gun shop and about that guy himself. No offense, and I feel so sorry that he like died in such a horrible way, like in that movie. And I even thought to myself, wait a minute, why the hell does he have bullets lying around near the counter when someone can grab them? And I'm like,
It,
if I was him, that I would literally not put any bullet packets there. Like,
yeah, I mean, seriously,
who does
if
that?
I went into a gun shop and asked for a gun, and the ammo was just right there on the counter, I would take a hint to actually load up the gun and shoot the guy, then just rob the whole place. It's like I'm waiting for a sign that says "Shoot me." I'm not even looking.
Well, I myself don't like to even go near guns. I've actually promised myself I will never own a gun ever. That's beside the point, I guess.
Yep, another
That's
thing I
true.
actually want to get to, he's actually another. I want to sort of get to the characters part of it now, but he's the one character that I will admit I kind of find interesting in a way because he appears throughout the series in a few of the movies, and I think you know who I'm talking about,
The
Doctor
psychiatrist.
Silverman. Doctor Silverman. Like, because
I
let's see, he's appeared in the original. He appeared in
T2,
Judgment Day quite
T3,
a bit, number two,
Terminator
and he made
Genesis.
even a cameo in Rise of the Machines. And I guess you could say Genesis if you kind of count
Yeah.
that as well.
As far as I know, he doesn't appear in Dark Fate.
Well,
Yeah, he doesn't appear in that one.
I have actually only ever
Or
seen 1,
Salvation.
2, and Genesis, but I believe that any spoilers we have will be kept to the first movie for this review.
Of course.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes. I will admit though, there is one thing I do feel I kind of hate about Carl Reese's character.
Mhm.
The whole is no, the whole no one believe in the whack job from the future kind of deal.
Mm.
I
Well,
mean,
well, realistically, you would.
sorry, you were saying?
Realistically, you wouldn't though. If some guy comes from the future says, "Oh, robots take over," there's pew pew pew. You know, I was a soldier fighting robots. You would think they were insane because in 1984, nothing like that.
Yeah,
That's true.
I mean, for all we know, he escaped from the local loony bin.
Hmm.
Hmm. Of course,
Speaking
and
of,
of course, like
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's the right term actually, but go on. Never mind.
yeah, mental asylum is the more appropriate term. But anyway, eh, as we so thoroughly explained, in the police, which includes one detective played by the aforementioned Lance Henriksen, don't believe his story about him being from the future where machines rule. And of course, as they try to protect Sarah from the Terminator. And now I want to get to one of my favorite parts about the movie, which includes the special effects.
Oh yeah.
Mainly the animatronics done by the great and mighty Stan Winston, who has
oh
done
yes, I was
work for
about to
a
get to the
lot
effects
of
actually.
movies, including one that himself he directed, Pumpkinhead.
Hmm.
Although, um, out of all the effects, here are all the effects that I think are done really well. Like the little laser beams that come out of the guns in the future scene. That I thought was pretty
Uh,
dang good for its time.
that wasn't a special effect. That was an actual laser sighting on a gun.
Oh. Oh well.
Ooh.
Anyway, then for things like oh yeah, the explosions and everything, they look practical.
Those are pretty
I
cool.
believe I even noticed that the ending scene. I'm not going to spoil it just yet, but still, the parts where, or how can I say it in a bit careful way, where they do show
This is
Arnold.
literally a spoiler review. Say what you want about the movie.
All right, yep. Well, the part where you see Arnold like with no skin, just
Burning.
the metal endoskeleton. I believe there's even a bit of stop motion in that scene because I could even just tell just by
Yep.
watching it.
Yep.
Although here's the one effect that I heard a little while back that even some people have agreed, or at least from what I heard, the one effect that some people don't really think now holds up that well today. You know that
Mhm.
scene where Arnold is like picking out a bit of his eye or whatever, and and he
What?
takes it
The
out.
animatronic?
Like
Yeah, that as you can probably tell now, the way his face looks in that, and yes, I know it's what they could offer at the time for the effects, but some people have even gone to say that now that looks even a little too fake.
Oh come on,
like it.
that animatronic still look pretty realistic to me.
I think some people. I'm not sure if they think it's rubbery or what, but the first time I saw him cutting near his eye like that, I was like, "Whoa, that's something visceral they got there." Even though we know it's fake and we know it's a robot eye, but still, just the way he cuts.
I first watched this movie back in high school, and during that scene, not gonna lie, I almost puked. Almost.
Speaking of as well, another thing I must say though, this scene out of probably all the Terminator films, good God, I must say it's kind of gory at times.
Yeah, I guess you could say it's the most bloody, and that's coming from a cyborg, which is artificial blood and a skin and over a metal endoskeleton. And now, of course, I feel like it's time to get to the final two action scenes of the movie. Starting with...
Actually, no, one more. There's a few other things I want to mention. First off, the action. One of my favorite action scenes is the police station scene.
Hey, great minds think alike.
I actually do think it's very much...
Just the way the action is in... Sorry, you were saying?
I do think it's very much just in the sense of the way Ginger was killed earlier in the film. I do think that the way that the T-800 mows down the police station with his gunfire is every bit as... Because the police are helpless in that scene, and they're just all being shut down. And the worst... even it's more terrifying in the Ginger scene because Ginger was unarmed and defenseless and all that. But then, even the people, even the authorities that are supposed to protect the people in the movie,
they're just powerless against this machine.
Yeah, even the authorities are powerless. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess this is a Terminator's way of...
Yeah, the action still, I must say, is just... It's really fun and at times intense even. A few other things that I want to get to as well, a few more things before the ending. Another thing I love is the lines. One little interesting fact, of course, for lines like, it can't be bargained with, it can't be reasoned with, it doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear, because it absolutely will not stop, ever.
I do have one particular favorite callback in the movie.
And another
particularly
one,
particularly when the janitor is knocking on his door, and the Terminator has to choose a response. He chooses to go with the same one Bill Paxton gave him earlier in the movie. And I quote,
"Fuck you, asshole.
Fuck you, asshole."
And I think the best part of that scene, even aside from the way he replies like that, the way he just has the options in the viewfinder, whatever you call it, whatever he sees through.
Yeah, the options.
It's like you're scrolling through Get Lost, fuck you, asshole. I think it's just hilarious he settles on that one.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Probably the most famous scene in the movie is, or at least the most famous line is this one. "I'll be back." One little interesting fact about that song. I watched a little documentary a little while back, right? And when Arnold was shown that line in the script, he asked James Cameron this: "Should I say? It should be I will be back?" And then James Cameron's like, "No, it's this." And then a few minutes later he said this to Arnold: "Look, just whatever you just say the lines. Don't question my writing." He even asked him, just don't question the way I write, just do it. And so Arnold did.
True. Oh, of course, though, after the police station shootout, eventually Kyle and Sarah both escape under a bridge. They spend the night there, and then they bang hard.
Yeah.
And
one other thing in that motel scene, he's the one part about that motel scene that I like besides that "fuck you, asshole" moment. Is where Terminator's walking past this black guy, and that black guy says, "Hey!"
Really? I never noticed.
Yeah, did you see the way he says it? He just says it the most obnoxious and funny way. He says it in a way like, I don't know, he was offended or something.
Hey, who knows? That could have been James Brown.
No, I don't know. Anyway, moving on.
I'm just... What was up, Spike? You looked a little down.
No, it's all right. Yeah.
Eventually, we make it to the final chase of the movie, to part one of the final chase of the movie. Mainly a vehicle chase involving them trying to outdrive the Terminator while they throw pipe bombs at him. Eventually, he manages to get into a fuel truck, and they manage to blow it up.
And actually, about that, Orion Pictures wanted James Cameron to stop the movie there. Like, it was just going to be like, boom, he dies in the explosion, Sarah has a happy ending, the end. But then James Cameron insisted on adding what he added.
Yeah, this is basically what. This is one of the things that James Cameron is especially known for, having a big twist in his movies. And this was probably one of the ones that coined his iconic twist. Is the Terminator rising up from the rubble, artificial flesh and clothes just falling apart of him, and we see what it truly is: a fucking robot skeleton.
Yeah, and that is another slasher trope, yet another one, because you think the enemy's dead, but no, the enemy gets up one more time.
Yeah, not to mention. Yeah. Oh, and did I forget to mention? It's a fucking metal skeleton with a frowning brow. My God, is that terrifying?
Oh yeah.
Not only that endoskeleton even itself is iconic.
Yep.
A lot of kids from the 80s I even heard were scared of that thing.
Yeah. Even though I gotta
Especially
admit,
that scene in the factory, it's all dark and quiet, and for a while at least, and it's just, gosh, that's well pasted.
Although you have to admit, sometimes the stop motion does look a bit wonky, especially when it moves like this.
Well,
Yeah,
I think it's meant to.
it does
I'm
look
actually
weird
gonna.
in certain shots.
I'm actually gonna defend that stop motion because I feel like, and I think someone else also said this. I can't remember who, but I feel like I agree with this person when they said like the way that the Terminator sort of, the jerky moves that he makes feels more like a robot.
Yeah, I do also keep in mind I don't have anything wrong with the endoskeleton's movement. I'm just saying it looks a little silly. But I think the main reason why he moves in a sort of jerky way is because after the explosion, part of his leg might have been damaged. Hence why he's walking with a limp.
Speaking of, when he got into that truck, he also let out another one of the most famous lines: "Get out." Oh, I must say though, the makeup job on him that they did, at least for that scene, right, where half of his flesh and everything is all gone and everything, and you see a bit of his metal and those. Oh, that is awesome. Really
Major
well done. Really just perfectly made.
Once again, major props for Schwarzenegger and his stunt double for both playing the Terminator. Because there was one point after the nightclub where part of a lot of Schwarzenegger's hair was quote unquote burned off by an explosion, which also singed his eyebrows apparently.
Actually, there was in terms of being in full makeup, Schwarzenegger once accidentally entered a restaurant. I forgot if it was for the first or second movie, but he was in full Terminator makeup, and he entered a restaurant with full makeup on as the Terminator. So he looked like maybe half disfigured, like he would maybe in the Terminator suit.
Oh god, that would have freaked a lot of people out.
Oh yeah, it's like when
god.
it's like when Robin Williams went into an adult shopping character as Mrs. Doubtfire.
So many fans were pissed at that time.
And yeah, just one more side note I want to add. I think it might have been for the second one in this case, but I believe that back in the day they used to sell kids' toys out of franchises like this and RoboCop and Alien.
And Rambo and Predator. Don't forget those.
Not sure that was the intended audience.
And keep in mind, lots of people like Arnie as the Terminator. So give her. So I say cut him some slack.
No,
I mean for kids, like toys for kids out of clearly adult movies.
True.
They did that a lot though back in those days as well, especially with things like Dirty Harry, I believe, Rambo, and a few other stuff.
Come on, guys. We still got like 7 minutes left of this movie to get through. So anyway, eventually, Sarah and a wounded Kyle lead the Terminator into some sort of automated factory where they turn all the machines on to disrupt of the Terminator sensors so we can't find them. Eventually, though, Kyle does manage to stick a pipe bomb in him, which blows him up in half but doesn't destroy it. But in the process, Kyle dies.
But just like every other horror movie-like villain, this metal endoskeleton doesn't want to stay down.
But hey, think about it this way. Michael Biehn is one kill closer to getting after Sean Bean's record.
Hmm?
I mean, seriously, in most of the movies that Sean Bean has been in, he's practically died in almost every one of them. Anyway, at this point, now Sarah's being chased by a legless Terminator who is just crawling his way to her, and eventually Sarah traps him in a hydraulic press and disposes of it with one of the most iconic lines in movie history. "You're Terminator, fucker." He hits the switch, and it just fucking decompresses the Terminator into nothing but a flat metal pancake. I mean, seriously, that thing. As far as I know, this version of the Terminator is DED dead.
Well, speaking of, I have a little joke actually for that part. Excuse me, by the way, for some of you in the comment section below, possibly. Forgive me if you don't seem to like this joke when I make it, but hey guys, I think his battery might be flat. Get it? Because he's flattened down in that scene, and he gets offline.
No offense, but
I'm sorry to say, it just doesn't make sense to me. No
offense, Stein, but to me that joke just flatlined.
Okay, that was sorry. That was funny. Okay, but that's okay. I mean, your jokes mostly work out. That's something, right?
All right. Eventually, all right. A few seconds later, we got to a denouement where Sarah is now using a microphone to speak to her son John while she's still pregnant. I don't know what kind of device it was, but it was pretty popular back then.
These days, it would be a podcast about raising a child in the face of Skynet.
That's true. But eventually she leaves with this: "The future isn't set in stone. We make it our own." And the movie ends with her driving towards an oncoming storm, ready to face whatever comes her way.
I believe the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer DVD even calls that chapter "The Oncoming Storm."
I believe so. And with that, that was the Terminator. Overall, I thought it was pretty good. I will admit the movie does have a few flaws to it, but this was a movie made back in 1984, so the technology back then was dated, as were some of the effects. Keep in mind,
it was a relatively low budget too.
Yeah, $6 million, but it did really well in the box office. Now, keep in mind though, I'm not saying this movie sucks. I'm just saying that because of the time period and the budget, a lot of things were rushed, and obviously there were a few things that were dated back then. However, all in all, I think the Terminator is going to be a classic no matter what. So I give this movie a 9 out of 10.
Same here.
I'm going to give this film a 9 out of 10 as well. You know, what's so great about the Terminator series is that it got so popular. The first movie did so well that it would give birth, of course, as I said to you before, a whole bunch of sequels, plus a few video games, plus even the Terminator himself appeared in the Mortal Kombat 11 DLC pack, and of course in its own game, Terminator Resistance.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say, because the film cost $6 million. In fact, the place here says $6.4 million. So let me calculate. According to this site, in 2013 dollars, which I used to convert amounts to what they would be today, basically $6.4 million in 1984. It says here was 16,735,846.01 in today's.
That's a lot of dineros.
Yeah, so basically roughly upwards of 16 million, under 17 million.
And like Stein said, the Terminator was so popular, it led to a whole bunch of merchandise. Toys, comic books, video games. games, and eventually it led to spin-offs, which one of which we'll be looking at next time, as we head to Delta City, or rather Old Detroit, as we buddy up with RoboCop. Until then, I'm the Silver Screen Slasher. And remember, be kind and rewind, because we'll be back.
Later.